It's our gratitude season, so we're getting set for our gratitude Sunday. So this morning, the title of the message is Attitude of Gratitude. The attitude of gratitude. And we'll be reading from the book of Luke chapter 15. Luke chapter 15. I'll read from verse 11 all the way to 24. And we'll get into breaking down the word of God this morning. This sermon is so special because Pastor and I just been going back on this passage and just seeing things that we've never seen before. I remember sometime in the week, Pastor called and we were with Pastor and he was like, have you noticed this in the passage? And I went to look at it again. I'm like, wow, this same story we've been reading for how God knows how long. We're just seeing insight from it. So it's a very special message because it's been cooked. It's been cooked by the grace of God. Hallelujah. Luke chapter 15, I'll read from verse 11 to 24. I know it's a very familiar story, but just approach it like you've never heard it before. So we begin in verse 11. Then he said, a certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. So he divided to them his livelihood. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, journeyed to a far country, and there he wasted his possessions with prodigal living. But when he had spent all, there arose a severe famine in that land, and he began to be in want. The famine did not come when he had money. The Bible says when he had spent all, then the devil came. Then he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine, and he would gladly have filled his stomach with the pods that the swine ate, but no one gave him anything. It's so interesting. We thought he ate the food, but the Bible said no one even gave him anything. He was in a very difficult situation. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger? And I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was still a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet, and bring the fatted calf here and kill it. Let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. Hallelujah. Praise be Jesus. The attitude of gratitude. Like I said earlier, we are in our Thanksgiving season. After 6 months, we pause in ILCC to celebrate the faithfulness of God for what he has done in our lives. So this time is another time in the year when we pause and say, God, we're grateful. So we're getting set for our Thanksgiving on Sunday, and it's important to just prepare ourselves to put on the kind of attitude that God will have us put on as we approach Sunday. So as we look at this scripture closely, we see a family, a closely knitted family, maybe 2 sons in the family. And this family is a very influential family, the kind of family that you wake up in the morning and there's somebody at your door already knocking, sir, when do you want your breakfast? There's somebody that is asking you, what is the temperature of water you want to bathe with this morning? Will you want to have towels in the bathroom, or you want to have somebody come and massage you this morning? Are you ready for work? What time are you getting out of work? Getting out to work? Which driver will you want to drive you? Which of the cars will you want to drive as you go to the office this morning? Their father was influential, so by the virtue of their father's influence, they also were doing well. So everybody in the house was comfortable. In fact, we can see towards the end of the story that even the son, was saying by himself that in my father's house, the servants are doing giveaway. In other words, they have enough. They are just giving out the rest. So if the servants are doing giveaway, what will the children do? So they were comfortable in that house. And somehow, one day, the younger son, not even the eldest, the younger one came to the father. And I'm sure the father was thinking, maybe he's coming to tell me how we can scale up, how can scale up business. Maybe he wants to tell me how we can engage AI, how can engage crypto, how can engage the Web3 and all to make our business expand. And as he sat looking at his son, waiting to hear the biggest proposal of a lifetime, his son said to him, "Daddy, I think my time here is done. I need 50%, and that is what I deserve. It's my right. I need it." And daddy's like, "But I'm not dead yet. Like, you are not." He said, "No, Daddy, I have considered it. I've thought about this, and I need 50%. I am done with you. So what do you want to do? Do you want us? Can I establish you? No, Daddy, I don't want you to establish me. Give me my 50%. I am out of this place. I am done with you guys. I want to start my own life." And Daddy thought this might not be a very good decision, but he had no choice. So he took everything, 50% of his estate, 50% of his net worth, and gave it to this son of his. And off he went, far away to a land unknown to anybody. And in the end of the story, we see the life of this guy that was living in affluence, moved from his father's palatial home to the pig pen. We're seeing him move from this beautiful home. In fact, some scholars will say the house would definitely not even be a one story. Maybe he has a tower, so that's how the father saw him coming from afar. He might just be standing on a tower in his house. So it was a palatial building. And we see this guy move from this point to this point of nothing, where the Bible says he wanted to eat the food that he would have gladly eaten, the food that pigs were eating. But the Bible said nobody gave him anything. How did he move from this point, from this palace to this pen where he was with the pig? I'll discuss two people this morning. The first is the prodigal son. We're looking at the attitude that hindered his gratitude. We're looking at the enemies of gratitude in the life of the prodigal son. And then in the second part, I will discuss the father. We're looking at how do we treat something with value. So let's begin with the son. I want to discuss with us three faulty attitude he has towards life or towards his situation. Three faulty attitudes. I call them the enemies of gratitude. The enemies of gratitude. Number one, the lack of value. Lack of value. The lack of value for where he was. As we look at this guy closely, you are looking at a guy who was so consumed with the thought of the grass is greener on the other side. So he is sitting in comfort in the provision of his father, but he was so consumed with the thought of there is somewhere called better, and that is where I want to go. Just like Lot, when Abraham told him, move, choose anywhere you want to go to, he said, the Bible said he looked to one side and it was green, and he said, that is where I want to go to. That there is this thought consistently in his mind that the grass is greener on the other side. If I go to the other side, I will feed well, I will do better than this. He was living in God's provision under the covering of his father, but in his thought there was this he was not satisfied, because he always thought on the other side the grass is green. But the truth is that the grass is not always green on the other side. The grass is green where it is watered. If you water your grass, it will be green. If you don't water it, there will be drought. The grass is green where it is watered. You know, most of us, we come to this point in life that we are so consumed with what is happening on the other side of life. And then we are blinded to what God is doing in our lives. We are so consumed with hoping that we will, it's called covetousness. Hoping that that person is doing better. If only I have what he had. If only I am in that situation that person is, not knowing what that person is going through with that situation. Consumed with the thought of a tomorrow, forgetting that the assurance of tomorrow is connected to the value for what we have today. The only assurance we have that there's a better tomorrow is that we have value for what is in our hands today. If we destroy what is in our hands today, we have destroyed the bridge to that better tomorrow. He was always thinking, on the other side, people are doing better. People are making it. To focus on what is happening on the outside. Some people are so focused on what is happening everywhere else, unless them. Focus on what is happening to every other person, but not focusing on what God is doing in their own personal lives. You can analyze what God has done for everybody, but not what God has done for you. So focus on the external and not on the internal. And what happens is that when people become too focused on the external and what is happening without them, they begin to lose value for what they have in their hands. And that is what was happening to the prodigal son here. Because you see, his heart was just set on the things he did not have. So in that atmosphere, complaint begins to come in. Before you know, the thing you used to appreciate before, you are not appreciating them again. The dresses you love before, you are not loving them again. Your wife, you are not appreciating. Your husband, you are not appreciating. Because always something is telling you that there's a woman out there that is better than her. There's a man out there that is better than him. You lose all sense of gratitude because the grass is greener somewhere else. And the truth about ingratitude is that when you become ungrateful, everything around you begins to go down. Everything begins to deplete. Nothing grows in the atmosphere of complaint. Some people are chief complainers. Complain about everything. Everything is bad. The water is brown. The light is too low. This is that. I don't like the way this person is doing the hair. I don't like this and that. Complain. In the atmosphere of complaint, everything goes down. There was a woman that Elijah met in the Bible, and he said, please go and give me food. And she said, the only food I have now, I want to eat with my son. And when we are done eating, we will die. That's the life of a complainer. I wonder how she thought that when we eat this food, God cannot help us again. It's death. That is the next thing. So God will watch us starve till we die. Complain, complain. And when complaint comes in, you begin to lose what you have. You see, this degeneration of the prodigal son, it started from inside the father's house. Because immediately he had that attitude, he started losing it. It's just that it took time before we found him in the pig's pen. But the degeneration started when in that affluence there was an attitude of, this is not enough. There's something else out there I can go for. The second mindset, 41 we're talking about, is negative voices. Negative voices. The presence of negative voices in our lives. As I was reading through this passage, I was asking myself, what prompted the decision to leave home? What prompted that decision? Where did it come from? It's not from his father, maybe not from his brother. And I'm not sure it's his mother that influenced him to take that decision. So as we search, we're discovering that there are some voices he must have heard that prompted that decision. Maybe some guys should have told him, at your age, you are still in your father's house. What's the big deal? There are guys out there that are making it. There are guys out there that are doing it on their own. There are guys, your father is limiting your life. You are still here. At this point, I am sure he heard consistently negative voices that brought him to the place of that decision. You are still obeying your father's orders at this age. And these people that are talking, their father don't even have half of what his father has. These people that are talking might not even have 1 naira. But they have the best advice for him. Say, no, by this age, if not me be you, you know be him. That's why you're not him. If not me be you, I for don't leave my father's house. Those voices consistently, if you hear them over time, your gratitude level, your gratitude bar goes down. And then you plunge yourself into trouble. Voices surrounding us today. Everywhere you look around, voices speaking. People are talking. The social media, the internet is talking. People everywhere are talking. In fact, maybe they would have told him, you are the brain behind your father's business. If you leave that business, it's out. And leave it and see, that business will collapse. Just try it and see. And he did not collapse. You say, this your husband. Are you sure he's husband enough? the men that are buying their wives' cars, did they have two heads? This young from one complaint, money no day today, money no day tomorrow, from one complaint to another. See, the way this your wife is treating you, she doesn't know that guests outside are looking for you. If they catch you like this, now them they rush you. She doesn't know. That's why they are called girls outside. They are not called wives. So she don't know that men are scarce. So men are not scarce. It's husbands that are scarce. So the way they treat you like this, make one girl, no, make one side chick no catch you. You go and see. You will eat pig's food. She will deal with you. Go and check. Because as far as you are with your wife, you are feeling like there's something out there that is better. Go and see. You must shut down those negative voices. If not, your life will plunge into darkness. Say you are 40 now. What have you achieved? You will soon be 50. All this life, what have you even achieved? Being alive is achievement, sir. I've been alive. I've survived. It's okay. It's enough to thank God. Don't come and run me down because of some people you think are better than me. Negative voices in his head, they would have spoken. Go to social media, you are hearing voices. Relationship expert everywhere who are not in relationships. You see success coach everywhere and they are struggling in life. Before you know, somebody has carried phone and is doing what is it called? If your boyfriend can't give you 100,000 a week, leave him. And that person is not in a relationship. And you hear that and you go and you are killing yourself. Run yourself down. Make your boyfriend leave you. The one that is giving you 20K per month. And they don't even have a boyfriend. Before we used to have authorities. People who go to school, who write papers, who write articles. And they become authorities on a subject. But now what it takes to be an authority is have a phone. You open your phone and you say nonsense. And you lead people astray. Don't listen to those negative voices. They will plunge you into darkness. I'm sure he had those voices and then he felt like, it's like this home is limiting me. I can do more. There's more out there. So he packed everything and he left. And my question is, those friends that were talking to him, where were they when he became waiter for pigs? Where were they? They were not in the story. When he started, hello pig, what will you like to have today? The guys were not there again. These voices, they will speak you into destruction, then they will leave you there. You are not in competition with anybody. Accept that. The only person you are in competition with is yesterday's version of yourself. I am fighting to be better than who I was yesterday. Not better than anybody else. Everybody is running their race. Run your race. The one that is marked before you. Run it and don't look at anybody. Your time is in God's hands. So that you not become gloomy. Enter into depression. All in the... You understand? People are just dealing with things they shouldn't deal with. Off the phone. Delete the Instagram if it's causing too much issues. Delete it. I saw a video once of somebody was explaining a lady on Instagram, you know, the way they will buy this suit and have that bag, and then they'll walk into private jets and you do slow motion and then you put music in the background and then you post it and people are like, God, when? So this lady did that and went into the plane and all and posted it. So she didn't know that as you are becoming authority on social media, there are also other authorities. So somebody noticed and was like, please, you people should not believe these people. That plane she's entering is not in use. And how did I know? That the engine on the wing, there's something they used to cover it. It's a cloth when it's not in use. Says that engine is covered. It's not in use. Even if it's been used, it's not very early. The person just typed it there and ran down all that fizzy. Some of this thing is running down to 0%. Don't go and kill yourself for those things, sir. Up your gratitude level where you are. God kept you there. And when it's time, He will take you from there. But make sure your gratitude is on 100%. The final thing for the son is, the final attitude he was dealing with is demystifying the supernatural. Making the supernatural look like nothing. And that is what the gram and all. That is what they are doing today, making the supernatural look like nothing. And Christians are lining up behind all of that and believing it. There's a supernatural, sir. There's a supernatural, man. After listening to all those negative voices, he came to a point, I was like, what's the big deal about what daddy is doing? Everybody is doing it for their children. There's a big deal. Do not look down on what God is doing in your life through people. God is actively working in your life. Don't look down on what God is doing currently in your life. There's an active work. I want to let you know that God is actively working in your life right now. He is using people to work in your life. Don't look down on those processes. Don't look down on them. God is actively working. It was until he left that house before he discovered that even to have a house over to have a roof over your head that you are not paying for is luxury. Some people are staying with people and they are looking down on the people. You go outside and they'll say, is it because she's housing you that she's telling you that nonsense? If it's me, I won't take that nonsense from anybody. Oh. They eject you today, that person will not receive you into their house. There'll be excuses saying, I like my space, I like my things kept. I can't really take you in right now. And the person that was managing you, you now make the person drove you out. Appreciate what God is doing in your life through people. Don't take for granted the person that is housing you. Don't take for granted the person that takes you to work every day. Don't take for granted the person that is paying your salary. Don't take for granted the person that is giving you jobs. The person that is giving you your clients. Don't take them for granted. God is working in your life through them. Don't wait until you lose it before you know that it is valuable. Don't take your health for granted. Don't wait till you lose your health before you know it's valuable. Go to the hospital. You will see cases you will be shocked. There are different things you don't even know in your body until you go to the hospital. They will say somebody cannot feel pain. Somebody cannot smell. Somebody cannot. There are things you don't even know. Somebody cannot even coordinate their movement. And you are waking up in the morning, you instruct your body, rise up to the bathroom, brush your teeth, to the car, drive. You think it's easy? Electrical stuff that are going up there to make those things happen. It's not easy. Don't devalue all those things because of some social media guy that is telling you there's no God. God will show them that is there. Leave them. Face your God. Don't demystify the supernatural. Don't take for granted what God is doing in your life. And as we enter the second part this morning, we've seen the son, we've seen his attitude towards what God gave him. Let's move to the father. Let's see how he treated the son that God gave him. Today, the two characters we're looking at, they are contrasting characters. This on this side and the other on that side. So the son gets to this point and he feels like, I can't do it again. And he paid the highest price, his pride, put it on the line. He said, the people that used to serve me before, I don't mind becoming their junior. I will go and tell my father, I am sorry. Let me serve under Nebuchadnezzar. Let me serve under this person. I am ready. I don't have a problem with that. But accept me. Let me just have a covering over my head and let me have food to eat. And he stood up and ran towards his father. Normal Nigerian parent. You see that boy coming back home. now they don't bring lights for your life. Now you know. You see your life? You go so far. You never ever say anything. But when the father saw him coming, and this is very instructive this morning, that this guy that hurt me, he took 50% of the estate, of the net worth, left with it. The Bible says he didn't invest it. He spent it on hookup. His brother said it. Spent it. And then he's coming back home. And you see, when the father rose and was approaching his son that day, it's not about what the son did. It was all about what God has done. And you know what God did? Let me tell you a bit of it. Everybody in that city knew that he had 2 sons. Everybody knew their influence. In that city, the family is known. And then all of a sudden, people are coming to the house and they are not seeing the other guy. And everybody is asking, where is he? Maybe it took 10 years before he could say, you know, this is what really happened. This is what this boy did. He took half of the estate and left. And maybe he was telling his uncles. His uncles would say, God forbid, the day we see him, we'll kill him. And in his heart, he's saying, no, the day I see him, I will embrace him. Not for anything, but for the fact that that guy would have died there. He said, this son of mine was already dead. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know how long he waited, but for so long he waited, maybe he came to that point and he just concluded that maybe he's dead. Because the travelers are not bringing stories about a son they saw somewhere that is thriving. Maybe he's gone. I'm sure he would have walked into his room from time to time, looked at his bed, and said, this is where my son will usually lie down. I'm sure he would have remembered his laughter in the house. I'm sure he would have remembered when they talk about destiny. You're going to be great. All this will be yours someday. And then all of a sudden, he knew that it was Satan that stole that boy from him. And he kept waiting. He kept waiting for that day. You know, I am sure he was waiting. That is why he recognized from afar that that is my son. The Bible says from afar, he saw him coming. And that day, everyone thought, let's see. Even the elder brother, I'm sure he was saying, let's see what my father will do. Because when he came back, we saw how he behaved. Everybody was waiting to see how he would behave. But you know what? He looked at that boy and he knew that this guy has learned his lesson. Now let me teach him how to value what you have. Let me put some value on him. And he called the servant. When the boy was thinking, I'm done. Even I can't make a start a wash for your house, Papa. I beg. He was like, come. Go to any, which boutique is trending now. Go there. I want a customized suit for this guy. Make sure there are glitters on it. Get it and bring it for me. But in other words, he's saying that just like God is saying, I am willing to shelter and to defend what I have. I am willing to defend what I value. I am willing to cover what I value. He said, put some clothes on him. Make sure he doesn't lack basic needs. Put some clothes on him. I want to show him how you relate and how you treat things that you value in your life. And then you think he stopped there. He said, okay, get me ring. And you know, ring is not a necessity in clothing. It's a luxury. In other words, he was telling him, I will go above and beyond to let you know I value you. Put a ring on him. Put shoes on his feet. I will restore you to the son that you are. That is how God expects us to be. He says, if you value it so much, you must cover it, you must embrace it, you must defend it. Because what you have in your hands, the life you have, I am the one that gave it to you. You must appreciate it. You must treat it with respect. You must cover it. Whatever you have in your hands today, I want to let you know that I am the one that gave it to you. And then he said, bring the fatted cow, bring it out. Those things were prepared for special occasions. And the return of that son was not a special occasion. It was not in the budget. It was not in the plan. But he said, go and bring that calf. We are killing it. Because now at this point, we want to let people know what God has done in this house of mine. There are many of us today that have looked at what God have done in our lives and we have not attached any word to it. We have looked at what God is doing currently in our life and we have not attached a word a word of gratitude, not even an ounce of it to it. He looked at his son that day returning home, and he knew that they would have wheeled him into my house as a corpse and saying, we found your son, but we found him dead. He said, oh, I almost lost this one. If not for God, I almost lost him. And I have people that are listening to me today. You know that this year you almost lost your house, you almost lost your business, you almost lost your son. You sat down, you say, that was close, it almost got me. The reason it didn't get you was because God was in the business with you. Heard of somebody in this church, she wasn't in the plaza. Somebody was in the other block of the plaza and was looking through the glass into the person's shop and was seeing a fire starting in that shop. The person was not there. They took metals, brought down the glass, and they turned off that fire from the source. Almost. But for God. There are things in our life today, almost had that accident. It was close. Almost. What value did you place on that experience? Maybe after learning the lesson and say, see where I have, see what have become of me. See where I am. I can't go back home. Let me just kill myself. He would have committed suicide and never returned home. Many of us have our children in schools in different nations and all. Do you know what God is saving them from every day? You speak to some teenagers, they will say, you ask them, this thing you are telling me, have you told your mom? Say, no, I don't want mommy to freak out. No, she'll freak out. I don't want her to freak out. Do you know what God is saving them from on a daily? On a daily. He said, this my son died. I lost him. As far as I'm concerned, this is a resurrection from the dead. As far as I'm concerned. So he attached what to that thing. There are many things God is doing in your life today that you might not have paid attention to. You might not have looked at because you thought it would have been better. That boy would have returned home mad. Thank God he even had the mind to come to comprehension that my father's home is better. From that man that his son left the house, ran away from the house, to that man whose son is mad. That's what God saved him from. And he understood it. I want to encourage us this season that as we come before God in Thanksgiving next week, that we behave like this man. That we look at the things God has done or is doing in our life and attach this same value to it. That you look at the things God has done in your life and that you say, I won't go below basic in giving to God. That is shelter. Put it on him. And after doing the most basic thing you can do for God, you say, number 2, I will add some luxury to this gift for God. You know, God has been faithful. He has been faithful. You need to hear stories. You see this health. If anything happens to it, it will become like a basket. You see finances flowing out like water in a basket. Just for this health you have. Say, no. I recognize what God has done in giving me health. I will add some luxurious offering, just like the offering of Abel. Said, no, it's not enough. It's not enough. I will do something beyond the usual, beyond the extra. Beyond the extra, I will go extraordinary. He said, this season, just like the Father did, I will make sure people know that I am grateful to God. By the way I look, by the way I appear. You see, some of you need to just go home now, because some of us have been feeling gloomy and saying, what has God even done? I beg this midday Thanksgiving self. Some of you just need to go home now. In fact, you got to start polishing your shoes from tomorrow. Just clean it and drop it somewhere and say, that is the symbol of my Thanksgiving. Send that cloth to the dry cleaner. Tell him, give me straight razor sharp ghetto. By the time I appear on Sunday, that we know that this is the man that God has favored. Because He has favored us, sir. They will know. He said, I will let the people know. Kill the calf. Let there be a celebration in this house. So that people will ask, what is happening? And they will say, it's that man, his son that he lost is back. You must do something that will let people know that you're grateful. Now we'll just do an exercise and then we'll quickly close. Can you bring out your notepad? You already have a notepad on your leg or something, and if you don't have a notepad, bring out your phone. We're going to do our exercise now of counting. Pastor will say, if we don't do the exercise of counting our blessing, we won't know how to attach what to what God has done in our lives. So in the next few minutes, I'll have like 2 minutes for this. You are going to pick up your pen, you pick up your notepad, and you write number 1, number 2 to number 7. You are writing 7 things you're grateful to God for. 7 things you're grateful to God for in this, from January to June. Write them down. 7 things you're grateful to God for.